A long, long time ago, something fascinating occurred. Pay attention. A group of men and women rode their horses up a steep mountain on a dark night. From the sky, a voice resounded. Dismount your horses, gather stones, and fill your bags. Then, mount again and continue your journey. Tomorrow morning, you will be happy and sad at the same time. Some dismantled of their horses, others do not. Some collected many stones, others few, and put them in their suitcases. They remounted and continued. When daylight arrived, as the voice had said, they were happy and sad at the same time. Happy because, in daylight, when they looked inside their suitcases, they discovered that the stones were diamonds. Sad because they hadn't collected more. I hope that when we finish this video, you feel this same mix of feelings. I'm here today to show you the true path of diamonds. I hope you're happy that you found some diamonds and sad that you didn't find more. Let's make a deal. Let's make this video the best it can be. Disconnect from everything and focus exclusively here. To show your interest, type, "I'm going to get a lot of diamonds" in the comments. When I see your comment, I will give it a heart, because I know you are really focused on what you do, and that is why you will succeed. Now, let's continue. I want to start our study with a very important phrase. Please write this down if possible. Never let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. The purpose of this video is to renew your hope. This is crucial, because we begin to miss out on life when our memories become stronger than our aspirations. When someone starts talking about the past, saying "yes, I was," is a sign that the person is saying goodbye to life. Therefore, when renewing your hope, you realize that you can set new goals and dreams now. I have a challenge for you. Watching, I would like you to think about the 3 most important things that have happened in your life so far. From the day you were born until now, the 3 significant and good moments. If you had to choose 3 moments to represent your life on this planet Earth, as the French Jesuit theologian Pierre de Chardin said, that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are here on Earth to experience the human experience. We have good times and bad times. No wonder we are born crying, because we know the challenges we will face in life. This planet is not a paradise. If someone expects to be happy 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, they are in the wrong place. Here we have moments of happiness and moments that are not so happy. It's part of the journey. It's like a roller coaster. In difficult moments, we know that they won't last forever. They will get better. And in the good moments, we also know that they won't be eternal. They will worsen. The understanding of this concept roller coaster ride can be useful. So back to the challenge. Think of 3 special moments in your life, significant from birth to today. Choose 1, 2, 3 moments. I assume you already have these 3 moments in mind. I know one thing: at least 2 of these significant moments were not planned. Maybe the day you had children, you built a family, or the day you met your husband or wife. You didn't wake up, "I got up one day thinking that today I'm going to meet someone I'm going to fall in love with and marry you." On a day you didn't plan on, you met someone somewhere, you talked to that person, you made friends, and then you fell in love and got married. When you look at your life, you realize that magical moments were not planned. You were doing something ordinary, and suddenly something extraordinary happened. These are the moments we call miracles, although we don't always recognize them as such. For example, you go to the supermarket to buy a kilo of sugar, and while waiting in line, someone starts a conversation, and you end up receiving a tip, which results in great financial success, like winning $1 million. You went to the supermarket for a simple reason and came up with an idea that could change your life. But this idea will only come true if you keep in your heart the hope that things will work out. If you expect the worst, it's better not to start, because you probably won't succeed. Like Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or not, you're right. If you believe you can, you will work to make it happen, and eventually you will achieve your goals. But if you believe you can't, you will be paralyzed, and everything you said will barely happen." Just as a cake requires several ingredients, life also needs several elements to be fulfilled. One of these essential ingredients is the ability to communicate and dialogue. But the first ingredient, I would say, is the respect you have for yourself, your self-image, and how much you value yourself. No one can give what they can't give. You cannot offer love to others if you do not love yourself. You cannot offer intelligence to others if you do not possess it for yourself. And you cannot offer communication to others if you do not communicate with yourself. Therefore, the first thing God expects from us, that we have self-love, that we respect ourselves. This is called self-esteem. It is how we see ourselves, and here is some good news. Self-esteem and self-image are not materials like cement or steel. They are built through language. No one is condemned to remain as they always were. I repeat, no one is condemned to remain as they always were. We are the only beings on planet Earth with the ability to transcend. And you know what it means to transcend. It's starting over. No matter what happened in your childhood, no matter the suffering, until today, your past was a necessary step to get here. Your future is an opportunity to go wherever you want to. But if you don't realize this, your future will just be repeating past patterns. What patterns in your family would you like to change? Because just like any other, your family is not perfect. To become a doctor, You need to study medicine too. To be a lawyer, you need to study law. And pass the bar exam. To be a journalist, you need to study journalism. But to be a father and mother, all you need is the basics of having sexual relations, and children are born like that. Parents, for the most part, are not prepared to be parents. They learn from their children's mistakes, just like their parents AD from them. Their parents AD from them, and you erred from your children. That's the dynamic of life. Don't blame yourself for it. It's simply how life works. We learn from our mistakes with the second child. We make fewer mistakes with the third, even less if we reflect on what we are doing wrong. The second essential ingredient in life is communication. In the agricultural era, landowners ruled the world, and their power lasted all their lives. In the industrial era, those with money dominated. But today, my friends, the currency has changed, and many have not realized now the currency is knowledge. You can be rich or poor in knowledge, but knowledge only has value when applied, when shared from one mind to another, and this is done through dialogue, through communication. So for young people watching this video, communication has become crucial for personal and professional success. It is part of human nature to evolve. You will never find someone saying, I will ask God for something to make my life a little worse because it's too good. I believe the Creator has never heard such a request from someone watching this video saying that life is too much good and wanting a little difficulty, but difficulties come to strengthen us. It is part of human nature to grow, to evolve, like someone climbing a mountain in search of the summit. You young people will see this in life. You will achieve your goals, attend, go to college, find jobs, get promoted, start your own business. This is part of it as you progress in life. Perhaps the most important ingredient is dialogue, the ability to communicate, to express yourself to understand others. Of course, I will introduce you to a dialogue model that I developed. It is something innovative that you probably won't find elsewhere. Let me explain the concept first. If I give you a pearl now, you probably the kept in your pocket. If I give you a second pearl next week, you will keep it too. And if I give you a third and final pearl in 15 days, you will also keep it. If we meet again in 6 months and I ask about the pearls, you will probably answer something. So the first one I put on the bedside table, but someone who was cleaning it didn't notice and threw away. The second one I forgot in my pants pocket, which was washed, and the pearl got lost. And the third one I kept so well that I ended up forgetting where you hid something of yours you kept so well that you couldn't find it later. This happens to us. Now imagine if I gave you those pearls and a nylon thread and instructed you make a necklace with them and wear them around your neck. If we meet again in 6 months and I ask about the pearls, you will know where they are. You will say they are here. I turn the pearls into a necklace. My friends, the pearls represent ideas. Oh, the world is full of people who had good ideas and didn't implement them, or worse, had their lives ruined by them. Did you know that a good idea can ruin a family or a company? That's because it's more important than the idea is to have a model to guarantee its execution. If you know someone with a good business model, whether in Sao Paulo, Tokyo, New York, or in Manila in the Philippines, or anywhere in the world, this person will be successful in business because they have a solid model. So let's set up the dialogue model. Communication has 3 levels. The first is mouth to ear, the second brain to brain, and the third is called heart to heart. Before proceeding, it is important to make a distinction. Listening and listening are not the same thing as we hear with our ears, but we hear with our brain reins. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and ordered sparkling water, but the waiter brought still water? You placed an order. They brought something else at that moment. The waiter was operating at level 1. At this level, no one gets promoted. You don't win people over, and you don't progress in life no matter how high your grades are. School, because school provides information, but life requires competence to act. Imagine yourself ready to board a flight to SA New York. If the pilot said, I'm not a pilot, but I have a lot of opinions, and I've read a lot of books about how to fly a plane, you would not stay on the aircraft. You want to know if he has the competence to fly and land safely in New York. Life requires competence to act, because what is on the test is not necessarily what applies in life. Look around your city, and you will find people who were brilliant at school, but are now lost in life. On the other hand, you will find those who were mediocre students, but are now excellent entrepreneurs, contributing to the community because they know how to dialogue with the world, with society, and they have intuitively learned the power of communication. So if you will allow me, I will begin working on this model, starting with level 1, mouth to ear, and then leveling up 2 brains, and finally heart, level 3. Before moving on, I want to state that we only reach people's hearts by going through their brains. There is no other way. It's easy to like who we already like. The real challenge is to like who we haven't decided to like. Someone from suddenly, it doesn't solve anything. This decision is purely rational. It doesn't touch the heart. If we don't like someone, it's difficult to reach the heart. The way can be to understand the person, their difficulties, where they come from, because they act in a certain way. We finally accept the person when we can dialogue with them, when we are operating at the level where something happens. An example of this is when a father is lecturing his son, but his words get through one ear and out the other. The father doesn't realize that he's been saying the same things for years without any results, even causing anger in the son when we speak without listening, right? Dialogue is a monologue. As the saying goes, the word convinces, the example leads. The best way to educate a child is not with sermons, but with examples. They will observe the example, and over time they will incorporate it into their own psychological structure. As I mentioned in an interview on TV, a 45-year-old father talking to his 15-year-old son The father needs to understand that the son never turned 45 while the 45-year-old father, already 15 years old. Parents need to be honest with their teenager to establish effective communication. I can only communicate with you if we cover a topic that interests everyone. If you have other preferences, I need to take into account what interests you and start a conversation based on this, not just my own interests. Like in a store, I wouldn't organize the window according to my taste, but rather according to the customer's taste. I want to attract, for example, I have a store where my sister-in-law, who is a decorator, did a sophisticated decoration, but I sell popular products. If someone who likes the sophisticated window comes in, they may not find what they are looking for, and those who would be interested in my products may feel intimidated in entering this store. If sophisticated decoration may be hindering my business and dialogue and communication, we should change this saying. Many attribute to the Bible that says, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." This works very well when it comes to something spiritual, but when it comes to communication, the phrase is more appropriate, "Do unto others as others would have done unto you." For example, if I invited you to dinner at my house, I wouldn't serve you my favorite dish without first asking what you like. In the dialogue, it's important to start by understanding what the other person wants to hear, not just convey what we wish to do to others as others would have done to them. Let me tell you a story that exemplifies this. I met a businessman in Sao Paulo who told me about his twin brother. When he was 14 years old, he had a falling out with his family and went to Sao Paulo, where he became a successful businessman. 25 years later, he decided to bring his brother to meet him. He organized a party at a pizzeria because he loved pizza, but his brother started to feel sick when he entered the pizzeria because he hated pizza. He tried to please his brother in the way he thought was logical, but he forgot to take his brother's preferences into consideration. This shows how it happens between us. It always happens like this. I want to show you what I think, but I don't care what you think. It's not true. Think about it. Nature listened to us on the same level. So what goes in one ear comes out the other, so the dialogue becomes a monologue. Because there is no answer to have a dialogue. First, I need to have a strong message from the wizard. You will only keep listening to me if you like what I say. I need some interesting thing to convey to you. According to, we need to speak figuratively how Jesus taught. He told stories. How am I going to teach something to someone who has never left the place where they are like Jesus? Teach about spiritual things to those on earth. He used metaphors, told parables. When he told a story, you couldn't disagree because he was conveying an idea through the story. Pay attention to this important story. Once there was an important ship full of gold, and suddenly the engine stopped. The ship's owner called the best mechanic in the region. He worked all day but couldn't fix it, so they called the best engineer in the country. He worked in 2 days, but they still couldn't fix it. Finally, they brought the person who built the ship's engine. Even though it was far away, he flew to the ship by helicopter. He heard the noises. He touched the pipes and found a valve with a piece of red wire. He asked if they had a hammer, and they replied yes. Then he gave a knock, and the engine started working perfectly again. The 3 workers who worked on repairing the ship sent their invoices. The first one, who worked 1 day, charged $100. The second one, who worked 2 days, charged $400, $200 per day. He was more experienced than the first, and the third worker, who fixed the engine with a simple stroke, sent an invoice for $10,000 to the owner of the ship. Agreed to pay, but on one condition. He wanted to know how the third worker justified charging so much. So the third worker explained that hammering a screw costs $1 and knowing which screw to use. The hit costs $9,999. It's not for the blow of the hammer, but for the knowledge. Now imagine we are having lunch and I tell you this story. If you understand the essence, you will see how it applies later in your office. You think about hiring me as a consultant and ask, what would my fee be if I gave a high price? And you say it is expensive. You will realize that I am charging for the experience and not just for the service. I have prepared your mind to understand my point of view through history using a metaphor. Those who know how to dialogue make use of metaphors. Politicians who win elections are good storytellers, just like priests who preach sermons that everyone appreciates. When you tell a story, the critical mind calms. You convey the story together with the message you want to convey, and that message fits in the listener's mind. Another important aspect of dialogue is to use language. For example, if you are a doctor and you start using complicated medical terms that only you understand, and then your patient goes home and the family asks what the doctor said, and the patient will say, I don't know. I don't understand anything he said. You need to admit that you were unable to communicate. A smart doctor should use language that the patient understands. The same if you are facing a legal problem and visit a lawyer who uses complex legal questions. Jargon that you don't understand, you get lost. It's like talking to the wind. It's essential to speak your interlocutor's language when talking to someone. It's not the time to impress with difficult vocabulary. Dialogue must be accessible to intelligent people without requiring intellectual sophistication to understand. Use terminology technique only when you are talking to someone who understands it. Another important point is the perception of what you are trying. Conveying may not be exactly what the other person is understanding. If you consider yourself a good salesperson, then your sales should reflect that. If you are not selling well, then I'm sorry, but your sales approach may be wrong. Maybe your language is not appropriate. Your message is not strong enough. Or perhaps you are not using the power of metaphors and stories recently. A client came here and I told him that you may be talking to the current client, but in fact is talking about what you did with last week's client. While the current client listens to this as an IL metaphorical strategy that invites the client to engage with your ideas like a father talking to his son. At the end of the dialogue, the son feels encouraged trying what the father is suggesting, which is an invitation that life offers you. Now I need you to understand one more thing. If you understand this, you will be very successful in life, so pay attention. Attention, we are judged by three things. Our appearance, by what we say and how we say it, and by what we say in the part of how we say what we say. The model that I am discussing with you enters. There is a level where nothing happens, where you are just wasting time, where communication is superficial. For example, when we ask for sparkling water and receive still water because the order was not understood correctly, many people become stagnant in life because they cannot communicate. Effectively, communication is essential nowadays. If you take communication out of the world collapses because information only has value when it is shared between minds, and this happens through dialogue. I mentioned that life is like a cake with several ingredients. We started talking about self-esteem and communication. Now let's address some of the other aspects. A slightly important message for you young people watching us. And for young people of all ages, youth is a choice. I may be 65 years old, but I maintain an energy as if I were 18 years old. I am always anxious, thinking about what I can still achieve in life. When I maintain this focus, my body does not age, it remains full of energy. Not setting goals is a mistake. You know the concept of an hourglass. There is the sand that has not yet fallen, the future, the sand that is falling, the present, and the sand that the past has already fallen. The sand that has not yet fallen is the future. What is falling is the present, and what has already fallen is the past. Let's focus a little on the present. You know why it is called the present? Because it is a gift from God. No matter where you are, always here, and now you have realized that life is eternal here, and now this is the moment you live in. If you can't be present, it's like a cat crossing just a hot tin roof. Feeling the heat. Many people are dominated by technology, the clock, the ringing cell phone. They don't live in the moment and then complain that they get sick, tired, have trouble sleeping, and can't concentrate on something simple like reading a book. Let's go back to our discussion about the hourglass. The sand that has not yet fallen is the future. The one that is falling is the present, and the sand that has already fallen is the past. You understand. I heard that the past shapes the present and the future. This is true, but Einstein proved the nonlinearity of time, which means that time does not follow a straight line. I will now show that the future also influences the present, and the present can even recreate the past. Imagine you book a trip around the world for a month from now, and let's say today is Sunday. I guarantee that Monday will be more interesting for you. You have 30 days until your trip, but you already feel happy in the present, just knowing that you are going to travel. See how the future shapes the present. You have heard the saying many times that the anticipation of the party is better than the party itself. Remember that Christmas dinner you prepared with so much care, but it was ruined by an argument between your in-laws. The anticipation of the dinner was better than the dinner itself. Sometimes the anticipation is more exciting than the event itself. So if you have goals for the future, young people, please listen to me. Your present becomes more interesting. If you have no prospects for the future, then you are on the road to ruin. Like many addicts I have met during my life, they have lost with a view to tomorrow, thinking only about today. Those who live only in the present do not progress. These addicts use drugs and only care about satisfying their desires today, without even thinking that these drugs will cause damage to their health. Tomorrow, I hope you understand that the future shapes the present. I will prove to you now that the present can also recreate the past. Once an elderly lady of about 70 years old came to me. She was going through a divorce and heard that from my knowledge I could strengthen. Emotionally, she shared her story with me. Married for over 25 years, she and her husband decided not to have children. They had a routine where they spent the week traveling for work, and they met on the weekends on a farm they owned near Sao Paulo. But a tragic event occurred when the aunt of the lady who raised her and came to visit her in Brazil died suddenly on the farm. As she was then unable to visit the farm while her husband insisted on maintaining the tradition of visiting the farm every week, this was causing a disagreement between them and consequently leading to divorce. I asked the lady why she didn't want to visit the farm, but she explained that it was because of her aunt's death. I suggested a new perspective. Perhaps the aunt had chosen to die on the farm as a gift for her to show her affection. I began to talk to the lady, conveying this different interpretation of the situation. She was attentive. Although she wanted to leaving, in the end she returned to the farm and has been married to her husband since then. I didn't change the fact that her aunt died on the farm, but I changed the way you interpreted that event. We cannot change anyone's past, but it is important to understand that everything that happened in our lives served a perhaps spiritual purpose that brought us to this moment. Our future is an open possibility, and it is up to us to decide what will it be. We are the only animals on the planet with the ability to think about the future. I suggest we focus on the future, as that is where we will spend the rest of the day. Our lives. If we hold on to the resentment of the past, we limit our future. Maybe someone hurt you in the past, and you still haven't forgiven that person, and forgiving is not only an act of love, but also of intelligence. Whoever doesn't forgive is doing harm. Not forgiving is like holding a coal hot in the hand and wait for the other person to get burned. By forgiving our parents or whoever, we are releasing carrying our shoulders and making room for a more promising future. I want to end by telling a story in which a writer who lived by the sea met a young man who was throwing starfish back into the ocean. The writer questioned the effectiveness of this, as there were many sea stars on the beach. He said, "With so many sea stars here, and you only managed to throw one or two back into the sea, do you think that will make a difference?" The young man picked it up. Another starfish threw it into the sea and replied that it made a difference to this one. He picked up another one and said again that it made a difference to this one. I want to tell you that this video may not be able to help everyone, but if it can make a difference in the lives of a person, is already worth it to me. If it made a difference to you, comment like this: "It made a difference to me." I don't know how you will use everything you heard here today, but remember that everything is worth it when the soul is not small. I hope that new paths open up for you, and that God is always by your side, illuminating your path. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to receive more videos like this.